Hi everybody. I'm just going to do another quick example of how to create a form and how to use JavaScript to validate the form. So I know we've done a little bit of this in the past couple of weeks, but I just want to make sure that we're not mixing up what we have with our HTML5 validation and what our JavaScript validation should be, okay? So I'm going to run through a quick example to create a form that has a name, an age, and an email address, okay? So the name can't be blank, the age must be a numeric value, and the email must be a valid email address, okay? So this is the basic lab that we're going to follow, and I'm going to create everything from scratch, okay? So I'm going to go back to my folder. So wherever you want to create this yourself, that's fine. I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it a JS form example. Fine. I'm going to build up everything from scratch. So we've done this a good few times, so I'm not going to spend too much time explaining the basics. So I have, inside my assets, I have a CSS file and I have scripts. After that, I have nothing else. So all I'm having is one file called site.css and one file called site.js, which will be my JavaScript. So when I come, now, where does my HTML file go? So HTML file goes here. So I need to get my editor going, so let's save. Okay, so I'm just going to go File, New File. I'll get rid of my friend, and I'm going to call my file File, Save As, and I'm going to save it to week 12. JS form example. So right here is where I want it, and I'm going to call it index.html, or whatever you want to call your page, okay? So we put in our doc type. Okay. Head. Title. Registration form. Whatever, okay, fine. We'll leave him sit there for a minute. Excuse me. Body. So when we have the file saved, absolutely fine. So part one. So there is the basics of our page. So maybe I'll just build a form up first. So I'm not going to try and make this look too good, okay? So I'm really just trying to demonstrate the JavaScript of it. So it's up to you to make your form look good. But I'll do everything from the start, okay? So I have my registration form. Form name equals to, what do we call it? My form. And then we're going to say on so when someone submits, we'll do something, don't know what that is yet, and we'll say that the method for our form is going to be post. Excuse me, okay, fine. So there's my form. Okay, so maybe I'll reverse everything up. Maybe I'll put the button in first. Input type equals to, keep doing that, submit. and we'll say value submit. Okay, so the button's on, fine. Now I need to add on 3 input tags to get the information. So I'm interested in a name, an email, and an age. So input type equals to text. We're going to say, we'll say ID. We'll use get element by ID for our form. ID is equals to name. And that's us happy, okay? Okay, so absolutely fine. So leave him alone. I'll leave him alone as per normal. Okay, so let's line up our friends. So input type equals to text, ID equals to name. So I'm going to be lazy. I'm interested in name, age, and email. Okay, fine. So I'm going to save my friend. Open them up, and we've 1 input, 2 inputs, 3 inputs, and my button. Fine. So there the form sits. So I'm not going to spend any time styling this too fancy. So I will put a label in though. What are we going to say? Name. We'll do the same for the other 2. 1. Name. Age. Excuse me. Okay. Name, age, and email. Okay, so we said we weren't going to spend any time styling this, so that's up to you. So I'm just going to put in a couple of line breaks to space out my form. So I'm only interested in the JavaScript for this example. CSS for your project is something that you are going to have to worry about yourself, okay? So not lined up, not looking good, fine, that's a CSS problem. So now I have name, age, and email. So the name can't be blank, the age must be a number, and the email must be a valid email address. And when someone clicks submit, we want to validate our form content, okay? So now we need to add in our JavaScript file. So we haven't created it yet. So file, new file. I'm going to save it quickly. File, save as, into assets, into scripts, site.js. That's my JavaScript. So when the buttons clicked on submit, and when the on submit of the form happens, I want to be able to call a particular function. So the function is going to be validate function. So I'm going to create a function. I'm going to call it validate. Takes no parameters, and there's the function. So inside this, before I do anything, I'm just going to say alert. So get the basics working first and see it working. Alert, hello, world. Okay, so we save our file. So we come back to my file here. So inside the head section, add the script. Script source is equals to, inside double quotes, assets, /scripts, /site.js. Cool. Close the script. There it sits. Fine. So, save. So when someone submits the form, onSubmit is going to be called. And what I want to do here is I want to return RETURN, return, inside roundy brackets, our function. Excuse me. Okay, so when someone submits the form on submit, I want to call my function, which is validate, and I'm returning whatever it's going to return, okay? Which is fine. And all the function is doing at the moment is saying hello world, okay, which is great. So I come back here, I refresh my friend. Now there's no information here, but when I submit, I'm getting hello world. Now what does that tell us? That tells us that I've architected the JavaScript and the button correctly on the page, i.e. when I click the submit button, that particular function is called. And that's going to be important in a few minutes' time, because what we want to happen is that when we submit the form, we want to use JavaScript to be able to check whether the name is a blank field or whether the email or the number is a number or whether the other one's a valid email, okay? So let's start building up a functionality, okay? So back we go. So we want to do a check here. So I'm going to put a comment in and say check that the name value is not blank. Okay, so we want to check that the name value is not blank. So what does that mean when we're describing it, okay? So what that means that when someone submits the form, they must type something into the name input box. And if they don't, there's going to be a problem. So the little check that we're going to have will be that if the content that's in here, if it's equal to a blank string, then we have a problem. Okay, then what we're going to do is that we're going to say if, and then the if is going to do something. So we're going to say if document dot get element by ID. What element are we interested in? We're interested in the element called name dot value. So that's going to say JavaScript is using the document object model to identify the input box called name on the page and get whatever value is stored in it via dot value. So if document.getElement by ID of name dot value is equals to a blank string, then there's a problem. If it's not a blank string, then that means someone typed something in. So I'm going to comment my friend out here, and inside here I'm going to put a new alert. I'm going to say alert name is blank. So that's the problem, okay? Name shouldn't be blank. So I save that. And I come back to my form, I resubmit. So I haven't typed anything into name. I submit, and it's telling me name is not blank. So what happened? I click the submit button. Then it jumps over and calls the function called validate via the onSubmit. The first check is basically saying that if document.getElement by ID of name.value is equals to a blank string, then we have a problem. And we give a message out. And that's fine. So let's build up our functionality using the alerts first. And then we'll try and do some more meaningful descriptions via the document object model. So let's get the alerts working first, okay? So there is the validation. So 5, 6, and 7, lines 5, 6, and 7 validates that the name is not blank. So if the name is blank, we're going to return false. Now we're going to validate the age. So if something, so what's the something? So we want to check that something shouldn't be blank. So we're going to use is not a number, or is NaN. So to check if something is blank first, I need to get the number. So maybe I might just do this up at the top here. So when I call validate, I'm going to say that age, I'm going to say, I'll keep the syntax going, var age is equals to document dot get element by ID, what did we call it, age dot value. So that's getting the information that's typed into the age input field on the form, and we're going to store it in a variable called age. We could have done this, we could have equally done this for this guy here. Okay, we could have said name is var name is equals to whatever, and then use name here. Okay, so it's just programming choice. So now I have age. So now my little check will be if is NaN. So is not a number of age. So if it's basically, you want to say this will return, it'll tell us if the value is not a number, and we're going to say, okay, if it's not a number, then it's true, and the function happens. So we're going to, well, I'm going to be lazy here. I'm going to speed things up. I'm going to say alert the age is not a number, and then I return false. Okay, so save everything. Make sure that guy's saved. Back, refresh. Okay, so type in a name, so that's fine. Then I submit. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a bug. So let's see where we're going wrong. So I have input type equals to text, ID equals to age. So age is fine as an ID. I come back to my friend here. So var age is document.get element by ID of age.value. And then I have if is not a number of age, alert age is not a number, and false. Okay, so we're not super sure. So this is a good way for some of our debug stuff, but we haven't looked at too much of this. It's probably more important to be able to do a lot of this ourselves. So I'm just going to show this very quickly, especially for JavaScript stuff. Right-click the page and click Inspect Element. So I'm in Firefox for this. So Firefox, this works best. So you can see a little tab appears. Click Console. Now I am going to reload my page. So refresh. And I'm going to type something in here. I'm going to submit my form again. Okay, and we're just going to see what's actually going on with our form. So our scripts are there, which is absolutely fine. We have our error warnings too. Okay. So I have my inspector, I have console. It's not telling me exactly what's going wrong yet, which is good. So my file has loaded in, and I'm more interested in logging than anyone. So I'm going to knock everyone else off. So I'll refresh and I submit. So name is not blank, that's fine. Okay, we're not seeing what's actually going wrong on us, so let's just double back. So var age is document.getElement by ID. Oh, okay, of age dot value. Now, we've taken in age, and we're trying to check if it's a numeric value. So the only way, and this is a lot of it down to typing. So the JavaScript is loosely typed or it's duck typing. I need to convert age to a number so that I can check whether it's a number or not. So I'm going to say var age is equals to age multiplied by 1. So that's going to convert my inputs to a number to make sure we're happy with it, okay? So save what we have. So you can see how fiddly JavaScript can be, in that you could be looking at something and wonder why won't it work? And we're still getting caught. Okay, I think I get it. Okay, so type it in, and I type in a value that's not numeric, and I submit, and it's going to tell me age is not a number. If I need to validate whether this is blank or not, that's a different check. So this example is going to say that if I enter in an age, we're checking whether it's numeric or not. A blank input is allowed. So if I type in here, that's not a number. But if I type in 21, then everyone's happy. Form submits, okay? So you can see how fiddly we have to be. So we have to be very careful of everything we do. So excuse me, var age is equal to age times 1. Fine, so we have our little check for validate the number. If I wanted to check whether to allow this as blank, I could have taken this down here. I could have said is not a number of age and document.getElement by ID of age.value is equal to blank. I could combine my logical checks. So the last one I'm interested in is the check an email. So is the email valid? So I'm going to say if something, then something. Okay, now I'm going to go back to our lab document. Now we've already been given a function that's going to allow us to validate a email address. So this is basically black box functionality. I don't need to understand exactly what's going on under the hood. So before I paste anything in, see my function for validate. I'm going to say, put a comment in, close. Okay, so I mix everything up. Okay, so he closes him. Now I paste in my new function. Okay, so I have a function called validate email. And what this is going to do is it's going to check whether or not the email that comes in through the input box is in the correct format. And we're using a regular expression for this. So we'll see more along these as we iterate through the course, okay? So we just want to use what's here first. We can understand this later. So, same up above, I'm going to go var, excuse me, var email is equals to document dot get element by ID, what did we call it, email dot value. Okay, so that gets me my email value. When I'm going to do my little check, it's either going to tell me whether or not something is correct or incorrect. So inside my little if statement, I'm going to call my function called validate email, and I'm going to pass the email address variable in here. So inside here, I type in email. And if this function happens, then there's a problem with the email. I'm going to say alert. Email is not in the format. So we'll alert we're not in the correct format. Okay, fine. So back we go. Refresh. Name can't be blank. Age must be a number, and email must be hello Joe. So that's not a valid email address, so I'm hoping that my little function is going to kick in for me. Okay, so it hasn't. So something's gone wrong on us again. So we have our function called validate email, and I'm passing in email, and this will return. I just want to make sure that everything that we typed in is correct. This is quite a long string, so I just want to see what's at the end and that there's no breaks. So sometimes when you cut and paste, things can be an issue. So that's no problem. Can I do that? Okay. Let's make sure I save my friend. So I'm able to call the validate method. I'm passing in email, which is document.getElementById email.value. And that's my ID of email, which is fine. So I'm going to try my console again, see if he does anything for me. So I'm going to go console. Hopefully this gives us an error so we actually see something that's gone wrong on us. So name, age, something, submit, and it's given us absolutely nothing. Okay, so we're not getting any error messages back, so we have to be careful of what we're looking for. So let's just have a look again. So we're expecting that when we call our email function, that it's going to give us a particular problem, okay? So let's just think about it. If it's incorrect, it's going to give a value of false. So maybe we've got the logic of our method incorrect. So if you look back in the lab, we have validate email is equal to email. We're only interested in when things go wrong. So when validate email is equal to false, that's where the problem is. So come back, we'll refresh. So name, age, email, and it's going to tell me that the email is not in the correct format. So we have to specify that validate email is going to be false, not true. So the logic of our if statements are quite important, okay? So we've seen it with is not a number of age, requiring the input to be a numeric value. And equally, when we're calling our method here, where we're only interested in when it's false. When it's true, that means it's correct. So let's actually see if it actually works right. So refresh, 1, 2, John, oh sugar, and that's fine. So that's the basics of building up the validation methods. So we've email, age, and we have no blank fields, okay? So that's the basics of a simple form for this. Obviously it could be styled better, there could be more checks that we could perform, there could be more fields that are on the form, so on and so forth. But that's the basics of it. So I just wanted to make sure that I could show a simple video of how to pull these together. You have to be very careful with the JavaScript. So you can see even potentially we ran into a little couple of bugs along the way that if we didn't know what we were looking for, the form was just never going to work for us, okay? So just be careful of it and have a look at the video, see can you get it working. What you have here, you should be able to bring back and incorporate into your project. So guys, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, please let me know. Bye.